Hey guys, Rath here with the DFS Minute tonight for Tuesday night. Get you going. Going to talk about some of the starting pitches we mentioned earlier in the day, give you some confirmation, talk about if there's any line moves you got to look at, give you some value plays on FanDuel and DraftKings, and then talk about a special guy that's in the lineup tonight and hit you up with a brief strategy session. I'm going to kind of expand this a little bit further. But when you're looking at two different hitters on a particular site around the same price, same position, just give you kind of like a quick take. Maybe you can take it with you tonight. But it was something that happened in our chat room, and I think it definitely brought up some good conversation as far as how to look at players, what to look for, and what's important, especially on a particular site. So talk about the day games. Did look good. I gave you Michael Walker, Wade Miley today. Both of them look pretty good, so pretty good there. Let's talk about stacks tonight. The two stacks that I like, is I do like the Pirates. I know Quintana has been pretty good, but I like the Pirates at home here. I think Morton is going to shut the White Sox down. I do like Morton, but I like this right-handed lineup for the Pirates. I think it's starting to click. And I think Quintana's in a tough spot. So I do like the Pirates. I like that top of the order, the 1 through 5, 1 through 6, especially with guys like Gong and Cervelli, just super cheap and really hitting the ball. And then also Marte has just been crushing it every single day. So he's almost like an auto play at this point, especially against left-handed pitching. And then the Orioles against Jerome Williams. Jerome Williams' numbers, even though he's a right-hander, his numbers against righties this year are really bad. He's one of the worst home run to fly ball allowed pitchers, one of the worst, weighted on base. Everything about Jerome Williams is pretty bad, and you get him on the road in Baltimore. So now no Adam Jones and no Matt Wieters, so that was definitely disappointing for us. We were hoping to get those big bats in there, but that does represent some value with other players. But I think, stick with the top 4 guys in the Orioles, and you should be safe. I'm not sure about stacking 1 through 6, especially because Chris Parmelee is in there and he's not listed. So that is a bit of a bummer that you got a guy that's in the middle of a lineup with a primo stack and he's not listed. I'm not faulting the site. It just means that they gave Adam Jones the night off and they put Parmelee out there and then also giving Wieters the day off. So definitely tough. It kind of devalued that stack a little bit, in my opinion. But I'm still rolling with the 4 guys I can get. If I can squeeze in, I did like a Pirates Orioles stack on FanDuel with Garrett Richards. I feel pretty good about that. Throw it in some tournaments, see what happens. But it's nice when you get 2 nice matchups. You can get those 1 through 4s, 2 through 5s, whatever, 3 through 6, and top it off with the #1 chalk pitcher of the day. So from that perspective, I'm going to roll with it. The other pitchers that I like, it's still the same from this morning. I do like Charlie Morton. I do like Chris Tillman, obviously heavy favorite against the Phillies. The run total is a little high, but I think it's mostly skewed, obviously, for the Orioles at the 8.5. And then I still think that Brett Anderson, this run total is scary high. I think it's like 9.5 or 9.5 at this point. I think it's 9. Here's the thing, though. The Rangers, and this is just the numbers, I know people look at it and say, Brett Anderson going to the American League, going to a hitter's ballpark. Here's the thing. Brett Anderson is a lefty. He's pitched pretty good this year. Doesn't have ceiling, but he's got a pretty good floor. The Rangers do give up pretty big games to left-handed starting pitchers this year. They're not the team that we think. There's no Adrian Beltre there. And so that's a big factor for me here. And I think that with this being, they've got some right-handed bats like Chirinos, who I'm going to talk about. And then even they put Kyle Blanks hitting cleanup, we're also going to talk about. But I think this is a very interesting spot for Anderson. He is a heavy favorite, and it's a high run total. So I think it's just interesting. He's actually moved from 130 to 160. So I think that's telling there. I don't think there's a lot of faith in Chichi Rodriguez or Chichi Gonzalez. I'm sorry, it's Chichi. But so that's my take on that. I still feel like Anderson in a tournament, especially on a 2-pitcher site, I think is in play for me. Just because the Rangers have given up big games to left-handed pitching. So the teaching point that we just talked about in chat, centered around David DeJesus and Anthony Ghost. And I mean, some of the guys said, well, I'm going to jump on Ghost because he didn't lead off. He's got a good matchup against Lorenzen. But the problem with Anthony Ghost is this. He offers no upside. Look at one of the things I look at when I look at those light hitting guys at the top of the lineup is it's got to be an elite. If it's not an elite steals guy, I want multi-hit potential. I want a guy that can go out there and get 2, 3, 4 hits in a given game. Anthony Ghost does not do that. Then I look at, can he get doubles and triples? Anthony Ghost can't get double. He can get triple, but he just can't get on base. So I want a guy that's going to get me doubles. Because here's the thing. If Anthony Ghost goes 1 for 4 like he does every single game, okay, on FanDuel, this is who we're talking about on FanDuel. It's 2 almost minimum salary, 2,200, 2,400 type guys. Is Anthony Ghost would need to go 3 for 4, get a couple of runs. He's not going to get any RBIs, and he's going to have to get some steals, which is not a given at this point. So there's just not a lot there from an Anthony Ghost perspective. But when I look at David DeJesus, I get a good splits edge. Tanner Roark is struggling against left-handed pitching, and DeJesus is going to hit fourth, which means he's going to get opportunities, hopefully, with runners on base. So he's going to get RBI opportunities. DeJesus can hit a home run. He's not a power hitter, but he can get one out. Roark has been pretty susceptible to giving up home runs. He's been really dreadful against left-handed. So I think for me, it was a very easy decision to go with DeJesus, and we kind of talked about those reasons. But, you want those multi-hit. If you're looking at the guys hitting first, lead off, all those minimum salary guys, you want guys that can get multiple hits. You want guys that can get multiple bases, doubles, triples. Obviously, power is huge, but you're not going to get power from those guys. Those late-hitting guys, you want multi-hit, you want stolen bases, you want the ability, because you need to have guys behind them. If he can, the difference between getting a first and getting a second is huge, or getting a double and stealing third, because now your potential of scoring a run goes up so greater because it's one less base to worry about. So if a guy gets a double, steals third, he can now score on a routine ground ball to the other side. He can score on a sac fly. Whereas if he's sitting on first base, he's not going anywhere and he's not going to score. So you got to remember that, when you're talking about these guys hitting first and second in the lineup, especially on FanDuel, is you've got to get, because the outs are negative, you've got to get guys that can put up 4 or 5 in a potential at-bat, which means they get a double, they get a run, they get a steal, and then you're golden. That one at-bat could save you for the rest of the day, because if you get 3 negatives, which is -7.5, now you go from a 4 to a 3, which is okay for min salary. You can take that. But what you don't want is the 0 for 4 with 4 outs, and then you're left with a -1. The difference between getting a +4 and a -1 on FanDuel could be the difference in you cashing at the end of the night and not, just from one player. So just keep that in mind, kind of a teaching point on him. Let's go value plays. Let's go DraftKings. Ivan DeJesus hitting second, going against Ryan. I like DeJesus at 2.8 on DraftKings. He's also over on FanDuel at 2.4. He's second base eligible on FanDuel. He's shortstop eligible over on DraftKings, but I like DeJesus in the spot. Cecilani from the Mets is 2.1 on DraftKings. He's hitting 6th against Copeland, so I do like him as a pure punt play in a tournament, because you rarely get guys that are that cheap. Remember the days of getting Joey Butler at 2K on DraftKings? We were eating that up all day long. Those days are over. So, look for guys that are super cheap and splits edge, bad opposing pitcher, potential for at least giving you value. With a guy like this, if you can get a 5 or a 6 out of him, which is basically a hit and a run, you're in good shape. Like Gong and Cervelli tonight, 3.4 with Gong, shortstop against Quintana. I'll take Cervelli every single day of the week. They just don't want to raise his salary. The guy continues to go out there at the catcher position. He's hitting in got a good spot tonight. He's 3.1 on DraftKings. I think I played Cervelli almost every single day that I played DFS for almost 2 or 3 weeks. I just continue to roll with him. And you notice that we do that with catcher. First it was Stephen Vogt, then it was Derek Norris, it was AJ Przinsky for a little while. Now I'm just riding the Francisco Cervelli train, and I'm not getting off until the guy goes into a slump or they start jacking up his salary, which they're never really going to do because he doesn't really go on those massive swings like a guy like Stanton, obviously, where you got these huge power swings. Cervelli just continues to grind out points every single day at the catcher position. and that's why I love him. So got to go with my boy Cervelli. And then David, we got double DeJesus night. We talked about David DeJesus just a little bit ago, but David DeJesus at 3.2, hitting clean up against Tanner Rourke. Love him on DraftKings. Let's roll over to FanDuel. Again, Ivan DeJesus is 2.4. Mention him, hitting second. And he's been hitting pretty good, you know. I'm going to go with Travis Snyder at 2.2. I know he hasn't been great over the last month, but Jerome Williams is one of the worst pitchers in baseball, and I think the Orioles could put up a big nut tonight. So going to roll with Travis Snyder. Definitely you need him as part of your Orioles stack. He is hitting second. Talked about David DeJesus. He's 2.2 on DraftKings, so more on FanDuel. So absolutely a must-play on FanDuel tonight at 2.2. Hitting cleanup against Tanner Rourke, who is not really pitched that great this year. Kyle Blanks. Now, I did mention Brett Anderson. If you're not taking Brett Anderson in a tournament, then you can roll with these two guys. I think these guys are in good spots. Kyle Blanks, big right-handed power hitter, mashes lefties, 2.5 on FanDuel going against Brett Anderson. And then we got Robinson Chirinos at 2.5, hitting seventh against Brett Anderson. Tournament plays for me. If you want to go with a Texas mini stack as contrarian, again, I do like Anderson in this spot because the Rangers have struggled against left-handed pitching, but you've got two right-handed bats that do hit lefties well. So if you're going to roll with any of the guys in that game, I think those are the guys that you want to look at. And then there's a guy playing tonight. He is listed on FanDuel, but I'm not recommending that you play him. But we just talked about it in chat, and it definitely, you know, stirred up some conversation. And that's we got a ball player by the name of Dorn. And if you're like me and you're a huge baseball movie fan, when you hear the name Dorn, you think of one guy, and that's Roger Dorn from Major League, who played a classic character. And we're going to punch up the video here of one of the best scenes in what I think is one of my favorite scenes ever in movie history to close out the day. This is Rath signing off. Good luck for tonight. And as we always say here at Roto Curve, stay classy DFS and watch this video.